What's good, everybody? I know it's late, early in the morning, rather. I just thought maybe I can squeeze a live stream in since I'm up. Just wanted to talk about a few things. How much of your darker side plays a role in your decision making is basically what I want to talk about. I got a video that I want to play. Hopefully this video won't get me flagged, but it may. So, in talking about how much does our decision making play a role in what we say, do, face, perceive, I'm going to play this video and then I'll get into the whole logistic of what I'm talking about.
My name is Michael Mauboussin. I'm head of global financial strategies at Credit Suisse. And today I'd like to talk about how to improve decision making. Now, in the world of science, there's actually a very interesting framework to understand how theories develop and improve over time. The first phase is called observation, where you just figure out what you want to talk about, you agree on the terms, and you observe a lot of information. The second phase is called classification, where you take all that information and you sort it into buckets, into classifications. The third step is figuring out definition, like what causes what to happen. Let me give you one example from the world of flight. So for centuries, humans want to know how to fly. That's the observation phase. When they went into the real world, they said, well, it looks like the things that fly tend to be things with wings and feathers. So what did the first humans do? They fashioned wings, stuck on feathers, went to a really high spot, jumped, flapped, and then crashed. That was the anomaly. So that's not the right answer. Had to go back to the basics. Turns out around in the early 1700s, there was a scientist named Daniel Bernoulli who worked on fluid mechanics. And as part of that, he started to understand this concept called the airfoil. That's something that provides lift. And it turns out that is one of the keys to flight. So as people understood the notion of the airfoil and lift, came along into the early 1900s, and the Wright brothers said, that's the key. If we can combine that with a little bit of propulsion technology and some steering, we can create an airplane that flies. It has nothing to do with wings and feathers. It has all to do with the airfoil. So now we have a sense on how we improve understanding causality. Now we can turn to the second topic, which is how do we improve our forecasts? And the key idea here is something called the inside versus the outside view. Here's an example from the world of mergers and acquisitions when two companies combine. The inside view usually means that companies are very optimistic. They can see all the positives of the deal, the strategic value, and all the financial savings they're going to accrue. But if you look at the outside view, what you see is about 60% of the time, the stock of the acquiring company fails to go up. In fact, it usually goes down. So notwithstanding there's a lot of optimism on the inside view, the outside view often gives you a much more nuanced and often less optimistic point of view. There's a third area that's really important, which is how do we take new information that comes in and integrate it with our point of view? Typically, we don't really take into consideration new information. The first major barrier to that is something called confirmation bias. Once you've decided on something and you think this is the right way to think about it, new information that comes in, either you blow it off and just disregard it or don't pay attention to it, or if it's ambiguous, you interpret it in a way that's favorable to you. Now, the next problem we all have this is what's called pseudo and subtly diagnostic information. So pseudo-diagnostic means information that really isn't very relevant, but you think it is. Subtly diagnostic is information that really is relevant and you kind of don't pay attention to it. One of the things people look at in an M&A deal is whether it adds to earnings. Well, it turns out that doesn't really correlate very highly with whether it's a good deal or a bad deal. Other things correlate much higher. For example, are you getting more than what you pay for? That's much more subtle, but much more relevant in terms of determining whether it's a good deal or a bad deal. So the key in all this is to say, we have this torrent of information coming in. How do I sort that and figure out what really should lead me to increase or decrease my probabilities of a particular event happening? So that's really the third part of decision making. The first is understanding causality much more effectively. The second is understanding how to think about forecasting using the inside versus the outside view. And the third is how to take new information in, sort it properly, and apply what's relevant to improving your understanding of the future.
So, So here we have on this particular topic where we're talking about
making.
Hey, come on. All right. So on this particular topic, I basically wanted to share and bring out the fact that how does our decision making, the things that we do, say, how we act, respond, how does this play, or the darker side of our decisions, how does that play a role in our overall decision making? Yeah, we're the late owls. No doubt. We definitely are. We're definitely the late owls. So and it's crazy because I got a picture of Donald Trump, right? And with the picture of Donald Trump, I have two sides of Donald Trump. All right, I have the Trump, and then I have the evil side of Trump. And the reason why I have the evil side of Trump, because I'm correlating that with the darker side of his decision making. All right, basically what I'm saying is when he makes his decisions, I think he does it based off of the inner darker part of him rather than the physical, more softer side of him. I'm trying to find the right word, or philosophical part of him, rather. I think he taps into a darker part of his nature or his inner man and then bases his decisions upon that. That's why when he says things off the fly. That's why when he engages certain conversations, to us it's weird, but to him, the darker part of him is what's actually resonating or speaking to us. Just like, I'll say this, when people make decisions, what part of the decision making are there? Is it them, or what part of the decision making is the other part of them? See, I think people have two sides to them. I think people have dual natures to them, because even the Bible speaks about that. Decision making draws you from values for sure. That's true, Time Q. Definitely, that's the case. That's a lot of what I'm about to get into. Some are based on the best of. Some are based on best for you or best for the whole. True. When we talk about decision making, when we talk about how to classify the right decisions, the wrong decisions, how we classify the good, the bad, how we group what we do, and how we group our positive and negative decision making to make what we're trying to say effective. I'm gonna be all over the place. I'm about to hit the Kaepernick thing. I'm about to hit the Vegas thing. I'm about to go into all of these different scenarios that are taking place right now, and I'm going to break it down in a sense of what we just looked at, that video we looked at where where the gentleman was explaining the process of decision making and how it plays a role in our perception, right? Now, I put how much of the darker side plays a role in our decision making because the world is so wicked, and it only leads me to believe that a lot of the things that people are doing now, and a lot of things that they're entertaining, is the darker side of themselves, because we see so much wickedness going on. So that's why I incorporated that with the darker side of our decision making, because not at all times are our decision making just so gloom and dark. No, but when it comes to on an everyday hand-to-hand exchange, we do see a lot of decision making that streams to the negative more than it does the positive. I can go through a day-to-day basis and point out all the negativity that I might see somebody else doing. Even with myself, might be something negative I did or whatever. That's a part of the everyday cycle of an individual. But what part of that is speaking? See, we might see decision making in the natural life, but what part of that is speaking to the masses? What part of that is speaking to your family? What part of your decision making is crying out and asking for attention? Those are some of the things I wanted to address. Now, getting to the Colin Kaepernick, I want to point something out here. And when I think about the Colin Kaepernick, I think about the rebellion. I think about the determination. I think about how his willingness and his undying waver mindset to prove what he is standing for, and without retracting any of it, just like, this is what I'm standing for, this is how I'm going to do it, and this is me being who I am. I had a conversation briefly with my brother Logic, right? And we were just talking, and some of these things I was talking about, you know, and I decided to incorporate this in my today's subject. Now, when we think about the stance that Colin Kaepernick took the knee, right? In his mind, he had to override all of the things that he knew was going to come against him. The backlash from the NFL, the backlash from the coaches, the backlash from the players, because not only does the decisions that he make going to affect himself, but it's also going to affect his teammates, the leader of the teammates, the owner of the teammates, the family that he has, or the people connected to him, the people he's feeding, etc., etc., etc. So, in himself, he had to evaluate, at this particular time, I'm going to do this irregardless of what's going to happen, or irregardless of what's going to take place. Time says you've got to understand the motivation, and that's true. The end game, I'd say selfish motives would be the darker side of decision making, and I agree with that. I agree with that 100% wholeheartedly. And I agree that once we make a decision, once again, you have to override the conscious. In order to make a positive or negative decision, you go through a series or sessions of should you do it or should you not do it. You will go through the whole process of, is it right to do it or is it wrong to do it? Then based upon your decision making, in your point of view, in your logical thinking, you will tell yourself yes, or you will give yourself the pass of yes, I should do this because of X, Y, Z. Now, once you overrode your conscience, you'll tell yourself why you should do it. And yes, this is the reasons why I know I'm going to do this. I know this is how it works. We go through this on a day-to-day basis. We all evaluate and override our conscience at some time. Whether we feel in our heart we should do it or not, we do it anyway. I'm the first to admit that I have done that on different occasions. Like, should I say this? Conscious? Okay, I'm doing it anyway. Overrode the conscious of what I know to be the right thing to do, and slightly, should I say this, being the wrong thing to say. And we all go through this factor. Some of the things Donald Trump says, he has to override his conscience in order to say it, or he would not say it. He knows it's going to spark some conversation. He knows it's going to bring the majority of the people out there to form a conclusion about who he is based upon what he says. See, he has masterfully learned how to convey the negative things that he wants to say, and people accept it. That's the darker side of him. See, he has to override the positive in order to tap into the darker part of him. We all do that. We all do it. We all override the darker parts of what we want to say, do, act, respond, the whole nine. And then when we look at the reality of it, we may not understand that when we start talking about, give me 1 second. We might not understand the reality of it. When we start talking about how to make the adjustments, right? When we talk about how to properly make the right adjustments, we tap into the part of us or the sensible part of us that is going to reason with our logic. That's how we do it. That's how you do it. That's how I do it. That's how we all do it. We'll tap into the part of us that makes the logical sense. Based upon that, based upon you tapping into the logical part of your reasonable thinking, you will say, you'll give yourself the green light to go ahead and do whatever it is or say whatever you wanted to say. That's going to make sense to you. Might not make sense to me, but it might make sense to you. So you do it. So this is how I see a lot of how we reason with our logical thinking. And I want to make time, time Q. I want to make time I want to make time to address what you're saying and still be able to stay tasked with my thoughts. All right. So I'm not ignoring your comments. I will address that. She says, I don't know much about football. I have a question. Was his career at its high point or at its low point when he decided to do this? And that's a very good question. I'm glad you asked that, because I also talked to Logic about that same thing. At what point in time, the career decision making, why he made it at that particular time. And I said that at that particular time that he made that decision, he was at, not to say a low, but he wasn't doing his best. I'm going to say he had 2 back-to-back seasons that wasn't good. All right? And with that being said, I posed a question that there was a little bit of rebellion in what he was doing. Like, it's just like a little kid. If you tell a little kid not to do something, what a little kid going to do? He's going to do exactly what you told him not to do. That's why a lot of how you deal with a child is more or less you have to not manipulate the child, but you have to sort of think ahead of the child, because you know once you tell him not to do it, he's going to do it or she's going to do it. So properly learning how to evaluate the situation at hand, and then, like that video said, the long-term thinking of what it is that you're trying to achieve, whether it's a mental thing, physical thing. You have to look at the long-term effect of what it is you're trying to achieve and do. Once you do that, then you won't begin to reason and having to reason with your logic or having to reason with your conscience. When you think about the long-term thing before you make the decision, then you'll process it more easier. I hope y'all comprehending what I'm saying. I'm not trying to make it difficult. I'm trying to give you the basis of our decision making and how sometimes the darker side plays a role in our decision making. When we look at it from a normal standpoint, when we look at it from a normal thinking process, after we evaluated whether we did something that was positive or negative, it should, in most times, it should provoke a reaction. When we do something, it should provoke a reaction. Whether it's a positive or negative, it should provoke a reaction. You should respond to your decision making. Okay? So people don't set out to make decisions and just say, Yeah, I'll chalk it up. I just made that decision. Usually when they make a decision, me, myself, I'll speak about me. When I make a decision, if it was the wrong decision, I will play back in my mind a better way of how I could have did it. I said, well, man, you know what? I should have said this. I said that. And usually I'll say, man, it's too late now. I done said what I said. That's usually how it goes. When you make a decision or say something or do something, we'll play back in our mind whether it was the right decision to make. That's the conscious. Whether it's the right decision to make. Whether I made the right decision. Whether I spoke too soon, spoke too fast, said the wrong words. All of these things play a part in our psyche, in our mind, in our conscious when we make our decisions. So why now do we suffer or go through the negative part of what we of the decision making now at hand? Why do we go through this? Looking at how the killings, the mass killings in Vegas plays a part in what we now see as a long gunman, or maybe two, decided he wanted to kill because of whatever reasons. Whatever reasons was on this killer mind, he decided that he wanted to stage. Now listen, this is important. This killer had to override his conscience because he know, first of all, he know killing is wrong. I don't think anybody looks at any one particular situation and says, I'm going to do this, I'm going to kill somebody, I'm going to do, without having to override their conscience. Unless they're just straight out crazy. And I'm going to read, Time Q, I'm going to read your comments. So I'm going to get back. So I see you have a couple of them in session. So I'm definitely going to get back to your comments. I'm going to get this point out. So the killer had to definitely override. What's up, Sean G? Peace to you, bro. He definitely had to override his conscience, right? Check it out now. The mass killer, all right, of whatever his name is, that killed all those people in Vegas. He had to override that conscience in order to say, this is a plan of action I'm going to do. He knew it was wrong, so he had to override the good part of him, whatever it was, because he had his girlfriend speaking out, saying he was a good person, he was quiet. He had his brother saying, I just didn't see him doing something like that. He never got a speeding ticket. He never was like this. So people speaking about the good that they know he has. But him, personally, he had to override the good part of him and then resonate with the logical part, the darker side of him, to make the decision to say, this is what I'm going to do. So he had to rationalize and reason with why he should do what he did. Whether we think it was a good one, whether we think it was bad, whatever it was, he decided that it was good enough for him to do it. That's why he carried out the plan of action of killing people. He thought it was good enough. Now, me personally, or me, you, and anybody else that looks at this story, we're telling ourselves, this brother was crazy, or this white guy was crazy, or this guy was crazy, or whatever. He was crazy to do something like this. Kill all of these people. But we don't know what's clicking in his mind to say, I need to do this, I must do this because of X, Y, Z. Whether it was the president's fault, whether he blamed Bush, not Bush, I hate Bush, but whether he blames Donald Trump for his life situations or whatever the case is, whether it was something mentally screwed up or whether something went wrong up there, it was enough for him to decide this was the right thing to do, go kill some people. We deal with that on a day-to-day basis, Sean G, Tom Q, we do. Might not be on that mass scale, but we do. We deal with it. We deal with this type of stuff on our lower level with a reasonable point of logical thinking. We do. Me, you, and everybody else looking at me. We do. So we say to ourselves, on our small level, whether we should do this, whether it's positive or negative, and then we carry out that plan of action to do it. You know, we go in, we'll say, should I, I don't think so, or should I say this? You'll go through all of that in your mind, I don't know, but then you do it. And then you turn, and then whether it's the bad decision or right decision, you'll find that out later on. That's why planning ahead is is better to just make a decision off the fly. So we'll sit back and we'll say, should we do it? And then you do it, and then it be the wrong decision. Then you'll find out, like, man, you know what? I should have never said that, or I should have never done that. Because then now your conscience and what you know to be right will play a major role after everything has been done, processed, and all out the way. Now you're telling yourself, you know what? I shouldn't have done that. That's that mind working now. See, I'm a thinker. I'm the type of person that thinks. I'm on my feet 24/7 thinking. When I'm asleep, thinking. Up thinking. Everything I do, because I'm a thinker. Most people might not be like that, but me personally, I'm a thinking person. So a lot of things that I experienced, I evaluated the cost in it because I'm a thinker. I plan, if people that know me, my wife, and everybody that see me, I'm a strategic type of a person. Things have to be in its correct place, and I know if my children touch something. If I got a lot of gadgets and a lot of different things. I know when my children touch something because I think about the process and how I do what I do. My clothes is put a certain way. My shoes are put a certain way. It's like I was in the military. You know, all of my military people. You know how you was taught to line everything up? You know, military cut the bed. You know how you was to crease everything. You know how you was taught how to line your shoes up. Everything. That's how I am because I'm a military brat. But everything I do is like that because I'm a thinker. When I'm doing something, I have to strategically do it, or I won't feel right. I will keep constantly doing it over and over, trying to make it right or trying to perfect it because that's how I think about things. Now, when you deal with your circumstances, maybe some people are not like that. That's why when I do something, my conscience, I have to say it. Well, should I do this? It'll play a major role in how I view things and do things me personally because it will bother me. I won't get no sleep. I will stay in the bed tossing and turning all night long because I feel like I've made the wrong decision. That's the type of person I am. You understand what I'm saying? I'm the type of person that if I made the wrong decision, it will bother me until I go correct it or until I figure out a way to correct the wrong that I did or said or whatever. Most of the time, I find myself apologizing to people because I feel like my conscience is telling me I need to apologize for doing something. The darker side said, do it, and I did it. And then come back and say, you know what? I was wrong because that darker side was wrong. I should not have jumped on the fly. I should not have said that. Now, it took a while for me to get to that point. When I was younger, didn't act like that. When I was younger, I did whatever my crazy mind told me to do when I was in those streets. If I was fighting, if I said I want to slap somebody or punch somebody, I was stupid enough to do something like that. I just did that type of stuff. I was that type of person. I just went up, pop, and then it was on. We out there brawling and fighting. I really didn't have no relinquishing in how I did it. Because if I wanted to fight or wanted to do something, shoot at somebody, I did those crazy things. But now that I look back at it, whatever I was dealing with on that level at that time was enough for me to override my conscience and the positive or the good that was in me to override that to do those actions. And at that time, I was under a lot of pressure. When I was in my teens, I was under a lot of pressure. In the streets, selling dope, had shootouts, had friends die. I had so much when I should have been focusing on school, doing positive things. I was involved in so much and doing so much that my decision making was well off. Plus, I was, smoke weed, drinking, and, doing all kind of stuff. So those type of things played a major role in my decision making. When I made decisions, it was always to the negative. Always. I mean, I made small positive increments, small positive steps and moves, but it wasn't to benefit me. It always wound up hurting me. Going to jail was all because of my decision making and logical thinking. I thought what I did was going to be the right thing to do, so when I did it, come to find out, it was the wrong thing to do. Not until I got into my early 20s and started to evaluate my steps, and started to evaluate when I do things, I have to do it because it's not only affecting me, but it's affecting my family now. Because I got married in my 20s. I was 20 years old when I got married. I'm 39 years old now. I got married when I was 20, right? So my decision making didn't just affect me. It affected my family now. I had my wife, my sons. It affected me, my daughter. You understand? But when I was younger, didn't have all of the responsibilities I had. So when I made decisions, it was only me that it would fall on. And I guess maybe I didn't care, or maybe my conscience at the time wasn't geared enough to care about anybody else but me. That leads me to this conclusion with saying all of that. When we look at people like Donald Trump, when we look at people like Kaepernick, I'm not saying what Kaepernick done is wrong or right. Myself, taking the knee, and I'm going to get to Donald Trump, but taking the knee like he did, like Kaepernick did, he had to evaluate the stakes. See, and let me say this. I got so much I want to get out. Check this out. Now, I'm not a gambler. Because I'm the type of person, if I'm gambling, and I tried it several times when I was young. I used to gamble dice and all that and lose, and I'd be upset. Be mad with myself all day long because I made the wrong decision in my gambling. Do you understand? Like, oh, I'm going to take this, boom. Or cards, playing cards. You know, I used to play cards for money and all that stuff. And I would feel bad because I knew I shouldn't have been doing it because I ain't good at it. But I did it anyway because maybe I had the money at the time, or maybe because I wanted to floss or flash. And then I would beat myself up because the decisions I made was the wrong one. I should have held instead of folding, roll the snake eyes when our decision making plays a major role in what we do. Now, when we look at somebody like Donald Trump, and when we look at Kaepernick, their decision making is on two different levels. Now we have Donald Trump, who's in the Oval Office. This man makes decisions for the country now, right? But look at the past history of his decision making, and look at the things that he's done in the past. Okay, some people might say, well, Donald Trump is an established man. He's a mogul. He's a pioneer in the game. You know, he's a multi-millionaire. Billionaire, rather. Has multiple properties. So many we probably we can't even count on my fingers or yours. But did he have to go through a whole succession of things before we can classify him as Donald Trump, the billionaire, the man who is rich with money and now ruling this country? So, if we go back through his history, Donald Trump on numerous occasions had to file bankruptcy, had numerous of marriages. Now, these are just regular character flaws that anybody could be going through, but I'm just giving a little bit of substance for you to grab on. Okay? And that's just maybe two things. If I grabbed a bio about the man, we might find out there might be some more things. Was successful at some things and was not at others. But now, when we look at him being the overall ruler of the United States, rather, the decision maker of the United States, knowing that he's not the only one, that there's people over him, he's the puppet, there's people over him making decisions for him, but we see on our level, we see him as the one that making decisions. We know he's not. Now, anybody knows that there's people, the elite, that are making decisions. But for people who are dumb, blind, deaf, or whatever, we'll say it, he's the one making decisions, all right? We'll put it like that. So, with him making the decisions, knowing how he operated or operates and have operated in the past, would you say he's capable of operating from the positive or from the darker side? Or how has he normally operated? When you look at The Apprentice, you know, he took a thrill at firing people. He took a thrill at getting them off the show or whatever, what have you. You know, you're fired and all this other stuff, you know, and kicking people. Like, that was the darker side. Although maybe that person that he fired at the time was good at what they did or had some positive things to please the show and to make it interesting, he had to do it a certain way in order to gain people's interest in how he did it. Right or wrong? All right, let me start reading a couple of these chats real quick before I go too far ahead. I'm not going to lose my train of thought, so I'm going to keep going with it. Okay. Sean G, yeah, but the profile does he fit? In this world today, was it money or was it being alone or was it close to death? And let me see what he's responding to. If, and I mean if, that guy did it, there would have to be a major reason for him to do it. And this is what Time Q is saying. It would be something he felt was important, right? I believe so. Yet, there was no political or religious views. Okay, I understand that. That's why I alluded and said that there had to be a mass decision part in it, like that decision making that he had to evaluate whether it was a thing to do or not to do. So he had to override his conscience. And I will stick to that. And Time Q, I'm going to stick to he had to override his conscience. Everything we do, me, you, Sean G, all of the masses out there, we always are going to have to go through that process of overriding our conscience. We have to. There's no other way to do something other than overriding your conscience. Because when you look at it, you'll tell yourself whether it's right to do it or whether it's wrong to do it. We see, when a child does something, he doesn't know the right or wrong in it. They'll just do it because all they see is the right now result. A child doesn't know how to process whether it's right or wrong up until they start to get into the age of understanding right or wrong. Right? When children deal with things, they're dealing because they've watched or seen somebody do something. But when we as an adult do something, we'll look at it and process whether what somebody did was right or wrong. Now, whether we follow their footsteps, we have to override our conscience and say, yes, that's what we want to do. Because it's the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do. Children don't do that. My 3-year-old right now, he'll do something based upon what he's seen his other brothers doing. Now, if they was doing something wrong, he will still follow that because he had not learned yet to process the right and wrong in it. He'll just see them doing it and saying, well, he did it and I'm going to do it. But when you start to get older, you rationalize the outcome of it. When I was younger, I knew not to do certain things because my mother, grandmother, whoever, I knew the consequences. My grandmother didn't play. If I did something that I knew was wrong, I knew I was going to have some steep consequences behind it. So, if I did it, I can expect her to get that big belt out, get the switch, or the broom, and then that was the consequences behind my actions. I already knew that was coming. So some of the things I did it and then ran under the bed, thinking that I would get away from what she would do. You know, she'll be making cakes or something or have a pie on the stove and I'll dip in it and run. You know what I'm saying? And I was crazy enough to do something like that, knowing that she had them pies decked out on the stove and right and nice and ready, you know, and then I'll go in there and think I'm getting me a taster and have a fingerprint knowing that I'm going to get it. And then I'll get under the bed and she'll take a broom and poke me out from under the bed. You understand? So, at the age that I knew things was wrong, I still had to override that conscience to say my inner greed for wanting that pie or wanting to taste that pie was greater than me knowing what was going to happen, those consequences. That's why the gunman, to get back to Tom Q, that's why the gunman took himself out. Because he knew if he didn't kill himself, that whatever the consequences from that was going to be much greater than the instant gratification of knowing that I'm about to take my own life and they can't prosecute, they can't do anything to me because I'm already going to do it to myself. So he overrode his conscience knowing that the end result, when I kill these people, I'm killing myself. That last bullet in the chamber was for him because the gratification of knowing that I'm about to do something to these people, I'm going to kill all of these people, and there's nothing that anybody's going to do to me for doing it. So he overrode his conscience. He overrode all the love that his family gives him. He overrode all of the sensible people that might have been in his life, because guess what? If he told somebody he was going to do this, guess what the person would have done? They would have talked him out of it or even told somebody. Why would they have done that? They would have done that because they would have reasoned with their conscience. They would have said, you know what? He's crazy to do something like that. I'm about to blow the whistle. Oh, he's crazy. Don't do it. Don't jump off that building. Don't do it. It's insane to do something like that. Don't do it. And then you on the building have to say, I'm going to do it. My wife cheated on me. I'm gone. See you suckers later. Free falling. You see what I'm saying? So you have to override the conscience in order to make these decisions. You have to. You have to. And let me get to some of these comments. I'm sorry, Tom Q. She says referred to my comments on Trump earlier. Okay, blah blah blah. Let me go. It's a lot of comments. Okay. All right. Okay, so Tom Q, babe, you going deep in. All right. Some things we have to keep in mind with Trump is that he has never had to answer to anyone or apologize for his opinions, which is true. Whereas politicians made a career off of saying the right things when they know it's the wrong thing. I'm going to add on to that, which could be the wrong things, which is true. Now, yes, Donald Trump did have to answer to people. Now, this is where we might differ slightly. I think that he just didn't care who he answered to. Not that he didn't think he had to. It's just that he didn't care. And the only reason why I come to that conclusion, Tom Q, is because when I look at the series of things he says, is that he just doesn't care. All of the comments, whether it was insensitive or whether it was off the fly, he made these comments irregardless of who cared about it. Now, he knew most of the time the decisions he make now, he knows he has to answer to the public. When Donald Trump makes his decisions, he knows that people are either going to like what he says or hate what he says. That's why he gets on Twitter and gets to twiddling. You understand? Because he knows whatever he's going to say, there's going to be people that's going to hate what he says or going to like what he says. So he just doesn't care. Not that he doesn't have to answer to anybody, but he knows that whatever he's going to say or going to convey to people, it's going to spark a reaction. I think that's a slight difference than having to answer, because when we make decisions, we all have to answer to somebody for something. When he makes a decision, I mean, hey, check it. Look, if you make a decision on your job, then you got to answer to the boss, right? Yeah, he might be the boss on some levels, but there's people that are over him that are controlling him. I believe with that much money, I don't believe that
that he's not in some way, shape, form, or fashion being controlled with that much money, because the people or the elite are not going to allow him to make so many decisions without having that go through them or answer to them. That's just my belief. Sometimes actions are guarded by the bigger scheme of things. Okay, just sometimes or just sometime or place we need to be in order to have an effect on someone we do not even know. Doesn't it all? It doesn't fit at all. And this is what she was saying to Shanjit. Let me stroll here. I speak prior to the presidency, he was the boss. Now he has constituents. I believe so. Time Q, he had to answer to the board. Then this is what Shanji says, and then he was more of a brand than a boss. True. With what both of y'all said was definitely true. Now, when we look at what I'm speaking about and what y'all speaking about, it's the same thing. But then, oh, I'm reading comments from different topics. Okay, I'm trying to keep up. It's so much that is being typed that I'm trying to keep my thought and then trying to read this at the same time. I'm trying to keep up with that at the same time. Yeah, here we go with this dummies. But anyway, so I apologize for that. I'm gonna try to keep up with everything that's being said from this point. All right. I think that when I speak about your conscious in the decision making, I'm going to what the heck? Oh, you should put a header on each one. Okay, all right. If y'all be typing so fast, and I want to pay attention to this and then look, because I got two different screens open at one time. So, when I say decision making, I'm talking about now when I'm reasoning with myself, whether I'm the boss or not, I still have to go through the process of overriding my conscience. Whether it's going to be to the negative or the positive. How much of the darker side plays a role in your decision making is what I really was talking about. Now, that's what I'm saying. You have to override the good in order to do the bad. Your conscience is going to weigh on you so heavy that if you don't reason with yourself, you'll basically go insane if you don't find a middle ground. If you don't find a middle ground to reason with what you're saying, what you're doing, you will go insane, because it will play such a major heavy role on your mind that you won't know how to process it. That's when people legally go crazy, when they have not found out how to process the thoughts in their head, and there are just so many thoughts that they go crazy. Have you ever seen a person that you knew was really a logical person or what was a reasonable thinking person, and then they went crazy, and now you see him? I've had childhood friends that used some drugs and made them go crazy, and you looking at them and they just walking around crazy, not processing things right. It's a sad thing to see, but I've had on numerous occasions had friends that have smoked some drugs and made them go crazy. Never knew he would be like that. You know, you would think that they would be moving and operating in a different way, but they just went crazy because of what they smoked. Somebody laced their stuff and they just mind blown now. Can't reason. I had a conversation with a friend that was in that position, and man, I was just looking at him like I felt so sad and sorry that he was like that. Whatever he took, whatever messed his mind up, he just was not, whatever he was saying, his thoughts was like not and I don't know how to put it, but it just his thoughts wasn't reasonable. He would say things and do things, and it was like, his brother gone, man, and it's sad, you know, it's sad. It's real talk. It's sad, but before it gets to that point, people rationalize with the good and the bad. Now, when we look at Colin Kaepernick, and I keep bringing his name up because he had to evaluate whether his career was good or bad, he knew this would spark. He knew, without a shadow of a doubt, that this would spark a mass reaction to what he was going to do by taking a knee. When he first did it, it was a outcry, a outpour. It was bananas, because nobody have ever seen that type of rebellion against the flag, first of all. Now, burning the flag back in the 60s when the hippies did it, that was crazy. They burnt flags, and then they had to set laws to say, if you did that, you going to jail, right? That was probably the extreme of rebellion when it came to standing up for the United States, right? All right. So when it came to the United States seeing rebellion, this is where the rebellions began back in those days. When they started burning flags and stepping on them and acting crazy. Oh, they was like, oh no, we can't have this disrespect against our nation's flag. How dare you? This great country of ours, you burning flags and stepping on them? No way, we're not standing for it. Here's a law. Now you do it, you're going to jail. Now, this is sort of the same lines, but taking that knee was showing dishonor. Now, I'm not saying he was wrong. I'm saying I agree with what the brother did, but I'm just giving you to look at it from their point of view and look at it from their lens. That is a disrespect to the flag and the country by doing that. But Kaepernick knew, without a shadow of a doubt, I know he knew that this was going to spark a mass reaction with the masses, with the people, with the elite, with the owners, with the league. He knew this. But in his mind, his cry, his fight, his polite, whatever he was redeeming, that this is important for me to do this, he overrode his conscience and said, I'm doing this. When he came out of that locker room for the first time to play that game, when he took that knee, he knew he was going to do it. Just like that gunman planned that he was going to put all those guns up in that hotel and then shoot people out the window. He planned it. So he overrode his conscience, and every single day up until the point that he did what he did, he knew that it was going to be the wrong thing to do. But in his mind, he rationalized that it was the right thing. Alright, so, and this is what Time Q says. I saw someone that did a painting of Kaepernick with Rosa Parks on a bus. I think that was taking it a little too far. Laughing out loud. I wouldn't associate Kaepernick and Rosa Parks in the same light. Only because I don't know, and I'm going to say it like this. I don't know what type of injustice he personally experienced, but Rosa Parks experienced it personally on that level. Like, you know, it was being done to her at that particular time. That was her stance. But with him, I don't know what was personally done to him. I think the actions he was displaying was because it was being done to somebody else. Things were being done to other people that we know of. So that's why he did what he did. Now with Rosa Parks, what happened to her was personally being done to her. So that prompted her to make the decision she made at that particular time. You see, so with Kaepernick, he might have was like, man, shoot, these running backs, they ain't running the ball right. You know, my wide receivers ain't catching the ball. What's up, Deshaun? What's good? You know, Kaepernick probably was mad. But, you know, my receivers ain't catching the ball. My running backs ain't running the ball right. My blockers ain't blocking right. You know, and then just fed up from all of this other stuff, he probably overrode everything and said, you know what, I'm taking a knee today. Think about it, people. It could have been that. And then it turned into something else. I'm just giving you a way of thinking about things from 3 different sides, not just one. So he could have said, you know what? I'm sick of them not blocking. I'm getting pounded out here. And my receivers dropping the ball. And my running backs ain't hitting the right holes. And then on top of that, we got some brothers being shot down by the police. Injustice. I'm taking a knee today. He could have took that approach. It had to be a series of things. Right along with his injustices that are happening out there. You know? So I think that all of that in the melting pot would prompt a person to make a decision like he did. Because I know he had to look at the losing of his job. All of that had to roll through his mind. I don't think that major decision he took was something that he said to himself, you know what? I'm going to do this and nothing's going to happen because I'm Kaepernick. I think that he said, you know what? If I do this, I'm going to lose a whole lot behind it. But I'm willing to do it for the cause. Now, I respect him. I respect Kaepernick for that. You understand? I respect Kaepernick for making that decision because he put a lot on the line. So I believe his heart in what he did it for was in the right place. Now, on the other hand, when you get to clowns like Donald Trump making his decisions, he makes decisions based upon who's driving him to make the decisions. Like right now in the Oval Office, he's not making these decisions. He has a team of people composed together to help him make decisions. Right along with his stupidity, right along with the way he makes his decisions. And the way he have done it. See, people are not going to change how they have done things if they've done it for so long, unless there was something major or substantial that happened to cause them to change their thought pattern. Think about this. We get in our age. We are stuck in our ways. Have you ever heard of old people being stuck in their ways? Old people saying being stuck in their ways when it comes to changing about a certain point of view. I remember one time kidding with this old guy talking about, man, you got an old phone. You got an old flip phone. And his reply to me was, flipped it out. He said, I can make calls, can I? I said, yeah, I can hear, can I? I said, yeah. So he said, it's all right with me. But here it is, I'm with the fancy note phone, blah, 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 I'm punching buttons and things. But with him, it was perfectly fine to have a flip phone because the natural point or the natural use of the phone was being used by him, and he could really care less about all of this technology. See, me rationalizing that, man, you need this new phone because there's so much you can do with it. But with him, all he really cared about is, hey, I can make a call, and that's all I really needed. Period. So, decision-making behind what Trump does, decision-making about how he conforms or does what he do, it's crazy to me. The people he surrounded himself by are prejudiced. You can go back through the history, Jeff Sessions and all of these other characters that he have aligned himself with, and some that stepped down. They have backgrounds that were not suitable to even be his advisors. But that only leads me to believe that whoever is backing Donald Trump and pushing him to do things said these are the people you should and will put into place because they have the evil mind to do what needs to be done. They're going to further this agenda, so these are the people you put into place, and Donald Trump did exactly what he was told. He overrode what he probably felt, whether it was right or wrong, and said, I got him now. I'm going to do it. And he did it. And that's what we deal with, people. Yeah, when we deal with classification, when we deal with classifying people, see, I always thought that you can't trust actors. I always felt like this. I don't know why. Maybe this is me going off the fly, but I felt like I really couldn't trust actors because they had two sides to them. It's because they can go on TV and cry real quick, go on the movie screen, cry, and be a whole nother person, and then when you look at them on the outside, their life is totally different than what they portray. They have learned how to manipulate the minds of people to be a certain person. Think about that. An actor have learned how to manipulate and act, but their real life might not even be who they portrayed to be. That's why they have to work or practice at the character that they are. They have to read the lines. Or if they're doing a bio or doing a true story or something like that, they have to research the person they're going to play. John Q. Rather, let me bring this up. John Q. and Denzel Washington. In order for him to get in character, he had to study John Q's story and had to study the person. Okay, James Brown. When the dude played James Brown, he had to look at clips and clips and clips of James Brown. He had to study James Brown in order to get in character to play James Brown. See, I felt like I couldn't trust celebrities because at a drop of a dime, they can switch themselves up and be somebody else. Whether it's a mental thing or whether it's them playing the character role, they can do that. Why do you think some of their relationships never stay together? I applaud those celebrities that do have long-lasting relationships, but a lot of them, they jump from one to the next because they're always in a different character. It's just my belief. Maybe it's my thinking. Maybe it's small, but I believe that. There are successful marriages in Hollywood, but the mass majority of them, they done been with 5, 6, 10 people in multiple marriages. And I believe it's only because of the field that they have crafted and they have portrayed the roles of different people and different things. And that led them to be different in their life. Some people don't know how to differ in that. They don't know how to differ from their characters. Tupac. I hate to bring up my man Tupac. I was an avid Tupac fan. Advocate Tupac fan. Would have went to bat for anybody coming against Tupac. But at the end of the day, when I look at his history, he morphed into what he was. He morphed into the character that we see as Tupac now. But when he first started off, Tupac was more or less believed in what he did. He was an advocate. He fought for what he believed in when it came to his people, black people. All right? But he morphed into the character of being Tupac Shakur. He morphed into that. So he took on the character and the role of being Tupac. He craftily done what he needed to do to get into that character and remain there. That's what we see today is that person, Tupac. If I would have stayed game banging, I don't believe I would be living right now, but if I would have stayed doing the activities I did when I was out in them streets, I wasn't always like that. When I was in school, was the class clown. You understand? Like to make people laugh. I would flip the bird to the teachers. I would be disrespectful to the principal. See, I was wild like that. But then when I started to get into the streets and was being mentored by older guys that were in the streets, you know, they're the first ones taught me how to roll, taught me how to smoke blunts, taught me how to shoot guns. Like they were the older guys that did these things. So when it morphed from who I was as the younger individual and morphed into that other character, people would look at me and say, man, you know, I would have never thought you would have been like that. When they look at me now, they say, man, I would have never thought you would have been locked up as many times as you have or did some of the things you did. When they look at me now. But that's because I've got out of the reality of wanting to be a gangster or wanting to be a rapper. See, that appealed to my nature because the environment I was living in, because the things that I was involved in, I evolved into that character. But once I was drawn out of that, once I came to grips and came to reality that if I lead that lifestyle, it's either going to lead me to being dead or I was going to be in prison for the rest of my life. Those were my options because everything I did, I took it to the extreme. It wasn't like I just did it and then that was enough. Everything I did, it had to be 100 or I just didn't do it. So by me coming out of that and not engaging in that type of life no more, being a gangster or being a thug, whatever, I saved myself a lot of headache and troubles because now that I look back, a lot of the frustrations and a lot of things I did was basically streamed because of the peer pressure, basically streamed because of the lack of not having or the lack of wanting. The lack of not having my father but wanting my father. The lack of not having communication the way I wanted with my family members or mother. Okay, you know, my life wasn't perfect, but at the end of the day, you know, I made decisions based upon those things. When I got older and started to go to jail, then those things were no longer a factor. I had to look at myself and say, I'm making these decisions because I'm overriding my conscience saying that this is what I should do. Why do you think people go to stores and steal? They're telling themselves they need to do this unless they're a kleptomania, unless there's something that is mentally done. But a normal person that say, I need to just take this batteries right now, I need my flashlight on. They had to override the conscience and say, do that. That small thing to us, but to them, it might be great at the particular time. Oh, okay, I like that, Sean G. Sean G says, but yeah, you have a 0 to 100 life still, right? Just with good ideas and situations, right? True. I can, yeah, you got me. Good. That's true. My ideas is 0 to 100 with positive. I should have added that. With positive things. Because everything I did negative, it was 0 to 100. And now that I'm seeking to do positive, is 0 to 100. You're 100% right, my friend, Sean G. 100% right. The things I venture to do now, I put my heart into it for the positive. That's why when people say things to me that I know is contrary to what I do or who I am, in some way it offends me because I understand that I'm a type of person that goes 0 to 100 about what I do. So if you saying I'm doing something that I'm not or saying that I am something that I ain't, it offends me because I know what I practice at and I know who I am and what I do. And I try to be positive with all that I do. You know, I might offend people, I might step on people's shoes, but I've already evaluated the cost of what it's going to cost me if I did that. And at this particular time, the little things I do say are not so offensive that people will get butt hurt about it or get mind hurt about it or any of the sort. I think that the things that I do and say now, I think I evaluated the cost and how much detriment it would play a role into my life, my character, my family, you know, even with talking about little bit of YouTube beefs and things that I've been in, which were very small. But I evaluated the cost of whether I should or should not do it. And I felt at the time I should. And I went all the way in with what I felt to be true or what I felt that I needed to defend. Now I had to override my conscience with people on the outside saying, don't do it. Don't say this. Don't make a live stream. Don't go back. I overrode all of what they were saying and my own conscience and did what I had to do because of the nature of me. When I was in them streets, I didn't play around like that. I didn't play with people. I didn't play, you know, when it came down to me or you, it was either going to be me or you. I wasn't going to play with that. And that's how the approach that I take now. When I override my conscience to do something, I'm evaluating whether you're causing an effect in my life. And if it's not, and if you're not, and if you're just flying off the mouth, I don't even pay it no mind. Because it really doesn't shake me or move me, you know, when it comes to particular things as such. But when we oh, she says, Tom Q says, I got my first J.A. Rogers book at 13, and I started waking up then. Let me see. And Deshaun says, I don't have any issues with people with different opinions. My issue is when I see people attacking others for it. True. And I agree that people should be able to have opinions irregardless of how we feel or how we perceive it. And I think Deshaun, that's very, very good point. And I want to build on that point that you made. Oh, that's when. Oh, you was a gangster, Tom Q. No doubt. No doubt. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, them lyrics you was spitting, man, that truthful joint, yeah, you was spitting some hard lyrics. I can tell you had a little razzle dazzle in you. But Tom Q, getting back to what you were saying, that does get annoying. And when people don't agree, I've learned that when people don't agree with what I say or what I do, I learned how to adjust to that. See, I don't fly off the handle when people don't agree. Like, we did a live stream with a female not that long ago, and I didn't agree with what she was saying. What she was saying was totally opposite of what I believed in at this time. Maybe at one point I didn't. Maybe at one point I had the same thought pattern as what she did. But at this particular time, I just could not agree with that because that's not where my focus was. Now, we could not get past that because she was so adamant about being at odds against what me and Logic was saying. Instead of saying, I see where you guys are coming from, I don't agree with it, but let's move on so we can find the things we do agree on and build on that to make this live stream and to make what we're trying to do effective. She could not get past that point of the shock of, you're not agreeing with what I'm saying. That, she was stuck right there. She could not get beyond that point. She was stuck right there on that point. So, we could not get any progress because in her mind, what she was believing and what she was saying was supposed to be for all, just because we're black, just because we're black. I don't believe in blaming people for what we should correct. I don't believe in that. Now, do people play major roles in decision-making and hindering what we're doing? Yes. But can we get beyond that and get above that? Yes, we can. With our thinking and with our strategic planning, we can. But she could not get beyond that point. What she's seen is taking that for face value and let's blame this particular race of people for what we're now going through. And this is why we're in the predicament as blacks. This is why. And she just could not see or get beyond that. So her logical thinking, her way of perceiving, just because it was at odds end with me and Logic, it was the end to be all. She was upset, furious about our stance in not joining what she was saying. Like I said, at one particular time I did think like that. But I don't think like that at this time. Because I've learned and acquired some things that shows me better. That shows me that there's nobody that can stop me once I make my mind up to do what I want to do. Nobody. And just because I have that mindset does not mean that other people cannot make their adjustments to do what they want to do. When people make the adjustments to do what they want to do, then they're held accountable for what they do. But that's not me to get mad about. That's not me to get upset about. It's just me saying this, that whatever they done, they need to own up to it and be held responsible for it. You see? Hey, what's up, Black Devil? Good. What's good with you? Ain't seen you in a while, man. What's good with you? People team up to attack you in the chats and make videos, but in real life, when they see you, it's all the fake talk, and we family mumbo jumbo. I'm at the point where I'm just going to react and not look back. No doubt, and I feel you on that. I've experienced that, and I know from seeing you on YouTube for a while now that I've seen the attacks against you and so forth. And to be honest with you, when I look back at a lot of the people I was surrounded by and the people that I've associated my name with, at that time was the wrong thing I did. It was wrong for me to do that. I overrode my conscience at that particular time and said, this is why I should do it, and this is why. And maybe I was naive at some point because I wanted to believe that there was good on YouTube before I experienced all of the bad. You understand? When I first came into YouTube, I just thought everybody was on a positive note. Like that's how I seen YouTube with all of the. I didn't know about all of these different people like Tommy Sotomayor and all these people that have channels with all these different point of views. When I came in on a smaller level with people that was already in prior issues and situations and I didn't know. So when I came in the blind, I just came in at that particular time on what I heard people saying, like, oh, that's good, man, blah, blah, blah. But then as I started to get into it and get attacked for other people's business that I had nothing to do with, I started to see the reality of how dirty YouTube is and how crazy people are and how people try to maliciously say and do things opposed to what you believe in and just because you got an opinion. I experienced that. But now that I have withdrew myself from those type of individuals, now I see that my YouTube experience has a better light. No doubt, Deshaun. YouTube was positive. It probably was. But I'm just saying the circle of people that I've attached myself to that made my experience negative because of the current things they was involved in. See, I didn't do my research. So I blame myself. I blame myself for not doing research on people's videos, not doing my research on their character, just by being excited about being a part of something I thought was going to be positive, but not necessarily seeing it through. See, I overrode my conscience, how I used to be. I used to be very cautious. I used to be very, I didn't trust easy when it came to, because I was on the streets, man. I couldn't trust people. I couldn't trust people to have my back. So having that mindset for so long, I had to eventually practice to get out of that. Because everything I did, I approached it from that. Even if somebody was doing good, I didn't know how to receive it because I always was on the defense. Always. So when I came into YouTube, it was like, my mindset wasn't like that. It was like, you know what? I see them doing positive, and this is what I want to do, something positive. I want to be a part of something positive. But then when I started to get all of the backlash from being a part of people who might not have been positive people, then it made me like, oh man, you know what? What am I doing? Deshaun says, I have to realize a lot of these characters mask their true character. So outsiders don't know who they really are, and which is true. like I said, I was blind to a lot of things about YouTube. I was blind to a lot of things. I was blind to how cruel people are really when they're hiding behind fictitious names, when they're hiding behind characters, avatars, rather. When I look at the YouTube experience, I'm glad I didn't hide myself behind avatars and behind YouTube screens or whatever the case is. I've always been me, personable. I've always been personable, like a person that you can see. You know what I'm saying? Like I like to be that way because I'm an honest person. My honesty allows me to be that way. My honesty says, I don't care. You can see who I am. See my face. See this. See that. Because I've always, at some particular time in my adulthood, have grown to be that. To be honest about what I do. When I was younger, in my early 20s, I was brutally honest to the point I didn't care what you thought. And if you tried me, I would try you. And whatever the result was, it was. Like, that's just how I carry things. But now that I'm older, you know, I don't think that way. I had to change that thinking because it got me in a lot of trouble. You know, my big mouth got me in trouble. And now that I got family and children and wife, I can't be reckless like that. Because if I get locked up and get 5 years, I have a wife and kids. That now, how would I leave them? And what would I leave them? What would be the fate of how I leave my family? See, that's how I had to think as a married man and as a father. See, no longer do I do things like I did when I was in my ignorance. You understand? When I was in my ignorance or my state of mind. I don't do things like that anymore when I was in that crazy state of mind. Because I actually did things off the fly and didn't care. Didn't care your blood clot. Didn't care what anybody thought. I felt like if I was justified in my logical thinking and in my reasonable thinking, I was going to say it or do it. If I felt justified, whether it was justified or not. I went before the magistrates and judge and told them this is why I did it. And I felt this is why I needed to do it. And that I had even had judges laugh and chuckle at some of the things I've said because I'm honest about what I say. Now, is it a good thing to be brutally honest? It just depends on who's being honest. If their character shows that he can stand under the pressure of being honest, then okay, maybe it's a good thing. But if you're not built for the honesty that comes out your mouth, then don't be it. Just relinquish from your conversation when it comes to certain things you got to be honest about. Now, when I look at the current events, when I look at the people we see on YouTube and how they act and respond to things, it's comfortable to hide and say what you say behind avatars. See, that's where you're comfortable at because no matter how many mistakes you make, or say, you can always create another avatar or create another fictitious name or whatever. With me, any mistakes I've made, you're seeing me personally. So if I make mistakes or say something, even if I go to another channel, you're still seeing me, Ace. You see? That's why I like for you to see me. So if I make a mistake, and y'all call me on it, I will own up to my mistakes. But see, with people that hide behind avatars, they can't own up to their mistakes. Because if they make a mistake, nobody knows who you are. You think you can just go and create another avatar to cover up what you said, whether it was wrong or right or whatever. With me, when I make a mistake, you see my face, you know what I look like. So if I go to somebody else's live stream or even open up another live stream of mine, you know me or see me. So I'm held accountable for my mistakes. You see what I'm saying? Oh. Yeah, no doubt. And they join up on like-minded channels is right. And it's sad. I try to gravitate to more positive people. Now that I'm getting a sense of how YouTube is composed in the way that people are composing what they're doing, I'm getting a more sense of who to deal with, who not to deal with, what to be involved with. Some people, you won't even see me in their chat. I'm no troll, so I'm not even worried about being a troll in people's chat. I just don't even go there. Because what you feed yourself and what you get into, it might not, you might say, it don't bother me, I'm just listening to it. But sometimes that stuff can mess with your psyche, depending on what is being said. Sometimes. Some people it might not bother, but some people it may. I'm the type of person, I'm a thinking person, so if I engage in a certain type of topic or conversation, it might bother me. And I don't want that to rub off on anybody or any one person that might be in my life. I don't want to take what I heard on YouTube and apply that to my life, or be mad at somebody or my wife or kids, or lash out at the job, whatever. See, so that's why I don't go to certain things or watch certain things or deal with certain things, because I just don't need to let that enter into my mind and my heart, because it might make me respond a certain way. Certain people might not think like that. Certain people might say, it don't bother me, and just go on and listen and do whatever they want. That's fine. That's you. But I know that I respond 0 to 100. So if there's certain things I hear or certain things I'm involved in, I will get angry, and then I will take it out on others. I can't take it out on people on YouTube because I can't get to you. So I just don't involve myself in certain things I hear or do, or hear or see rather. But since I've been dealing with Logic, you know, we do our live streams, we talk on the phone and build on positive things, which is cool. It's comfortable. It's cool. I don't have to worry about whether the brother's gonna go out and make some slanderous things about me or say something slanderous about me. I don't feel that from the brother. I don't feel like his intentions would be to do something maliciously like that. So that's why I continue to build with him, because I feel like from his thinking and from his standpoint, he's a decent brother, and maybe I might be opposed to some of the things he thinks or say, but it doesn't deter me from trying to get to the bottom of how we can do something effective. And that's the whole time I've known this brother, that's his scheme. That's his plight of things. He wants to know how he can be effective in helping or doing something for his people, for other people. That's just how he is, and how I've grown to see him operate. And that's just the level that I've been on. How can I do or say or make something that I am involved in positive? Not taking credit or not saying I'm the best, but at least adding or contributing to it. So I think that in between me and him, and me and his friendship, that's how we're able to continue succeeding on YouTube thus far, without any, any confusion. Now, when I started to let people in, it just brought so much confusion, man. Even with the last person, the last female, it just brought a lot of confusion to that live stream. Frustration, rather. And my thing was not to do it. Like, I wanted to do it to give the person a chance to come back out, to come on, to do some, say some positive things or try to add to the bill, whatever. It just didn't work. And every time we try that, me and Logic have tried that, it just does not fit, man. They don't fit with the scheme of things. So we just do our thing. You'll see me and him going in or having our fun. It's just because, we can't do that. We can't allow people to come in and detour us with their stuff, man. We just can't. Because even though me and him disagree on things, we're still able to function. We're still able to move forward. Not letting that be the end, and this is where it stops at. This is where the buck stops. No. Okay, we disagree, but let's move on. Because there's going to be things at the end of the day, if we're doing something positive, there's going to be things we're going to agree on because it's supposed to be positive. It's supposed to be positive. You feel me? So we agree on things like that. So that's why I deal with man Logic. And at this point, all the other people that I've surrounded by and the people that I've let into my you know, my circle have turned out to be the wrong decision. But me, myself, I know how to correct things, and I know how to make things, you know, I know how to make things right by excluding myself and critiquing myself and my actions. And that's how I make things right on my end. You feel me? It's the big picture that matters, Sean G. You are definitely correct. The only purpose for me to be on YouTube is to watch great content like Ace and Logic, or to watch how to do it yourself. No doubt, videos. No doubt. And I appreciate that love, Deshaun. That's much respect. Much respect to you, all right? Much respect. Much respect. Hold on, let me make sure I didn't miss no comments. I've learned, and this is what Black Devil says, I've learned so much by watching YouTube. People have a job of watching every live stream and reading every comment, such as to report back to the leaders of their group to create negative commentary for their YouTube. No doubt. And that's how they have strategized to do what they do on YouTube. They have strategized that and tried to make what they do effective. But me and Logic, we have said on numerous occasions that, and I've said this, so this, what we do positive is going to outlast the negative. That's what I believe. I believe that, and I told him this day before yesterday, only the positive things is going to outlast the negative. Like all of the negative things that are out there on me right now at this current time, that people slanderous said about me and all of the slanderous behavior, that's going to outlast my stance, and who I am and who I know I am is going to outlast all of that negative by far. I don't care what they say about me. People know me, know my character, know that some of the things they said, that I would never be that, because I would never stand for that. Mentally, I can't deal with something like that. I can't. It's not part of my psyche. But when people do it, they're trying to find something that's going to get under my skin, or it's going to get me mad, and it's going, no, I don't care less, because that does not deter me from what I'm going to do or what I'm going to say by what you say or what you do. Now, I will respond when I feel like it, and I will have rebuttals against what you're saying. But does it really make me or move me to be something different or try to? No, it doesn't. I think that how people have did what they did on YouTube, they have tried to find any niche to do what they want to do. To be successful on YouTube. I started this with the mindset to know I'm going to be successful on YouTube, not whether I'm going to be successful. I started out to say I am going to be successful. That's just how I think about things in life. When I set out to do something, I know it's going to be success in it. That's just because that's my thinking. Maybe some people don't think like that. I don't fault them for the way they think, but me personally, when I put my mind to do something, I know I'm going to be successful at it. I know I am. That's just the way I think. There's so many times when in the past, when I thought about something, that I didn't have the confidence to think like that. So it really didn't happen. So there was no consistency in what I did, because I really didn't believe it. I didn't believe that it would happen. And if it, from some small aspect or some small chance that it did happen, I was in awe or shock, because I would never believe that it could happen. But now I'm at a place in my life that I know things could happen, and it's going to happen, because that's what I believe. I've had too many success stories at a certain particular time of my life to know that things are going to happen, rather than just say, maybe it might. I know that these things that I want, ask for, and believe going to happen is going to happen. And I use these things as stepping stones, testimonies. You feel me? I use these things that I go through as my testimony to reinsure that what I felt and thought from the get-go is what it really was and what it really is. Sean G says, there's things that have happened in my life that I have gained respect for people like Ace, Logic, Dreads, and a lot of other faux fam. Makes much sense, my man. I appreciate the love and I appreciate the respect, my brother. And it's likewise. And I like when I see people respond positive. You know, I like when I see people when they think and build. I can see the positivity in what you're saying. See, I know you're a well-rounded person. I know that you got your life in order. I'm not saying you don't make mistakes and all that other stuff, but I can tell by what you say and by how you convey your words that you're a pretty much well-rounded individual. You know, that I can respect. I can respect the comments that you make. You're not flying off the handle. You ain't saying reckless stuff. It's like you strategically say what you need to say, but it's effective. You know, it's effective. Every time we on live stream, there's things that you say that is effective. You know, even Time Q, you know, Black Devil. There's things that y'all say that lets me know you have matured and cultured into the individual that you are. And that only comes through trial and error. And it only comes through hurt and pain. It only comes through a lot of those type of things to make you to be who you are. Same thing with me. I am who I am because of the mistakes, because of the hurt, because of the pain. All of those things push and cultivate you to be who you are. And in the mere time that I see people come into the chat reckless, that lets me know their life is reckless. That's just how it go. When they come in the live streams and they get to flying off the handle and talking they reckless with everything they do. Time Q says we have built a whole database of the black families of Memphis in the early 90s. They were very successful. Now we are working up to connecting the lineage with the correct descendants. No doubt, family. No doubt. Much positive in that. It's a lot of jealousy. Black Devil says it's a lot of jealousy. So we have to watch out. People interact with one another, not to build sometimes, but to gather information about you to try to rip you apart. When you don't, when it doesn't work, they troll. True. And I think now. And read before that, Black Time Q. All right, I'm sorry. Time Q, you keep me in check, don't you? Yeah, read before that. All right, let me read up here. Let's see. Okay. The first phase of my project is reconnecting our local youth, which is positive. Love that. With the history of their great grands relatives that were business owners, doctors, nurses, etc. Oh man, I love it. It's an inheritance of our reputation. Oh man, I love that. Time Q. Oh man, I love that. Positive work at hand. To make different decisions when they have a family legacy to uphold. Oh, I love it. 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 I love that. Sanji says, my father taught me my words make persons. My father taught me my words make a person who they are and their actions. True indeed, my friend. True indeed. I'm starting now. Wow, it's 5 o'clock, man. My children be getting up. I didn't know I was on the live stream that long. I'm starting now to get a sense of life, man, of appreciating life. At one particular time, I didn't care about life. I didn't care about people, life, what I did. It wasn't a reality. But some of these near-death experiences I've had, some of the things that I'm now experiencing in my life, it's crazy, people. Matter of fact, I was on my motorcycle last year. The same time I got in an accident with the deer, I was in an accident on my motorcycle where a person ran me off the road into a Mercedes. I was doing 70-something miles an hour and hit the Mercedes. I got it all on camera. I had my GoPro on at the time. I got the whole footage. My whole side hit the car. Smack. And I got it all on footage. See, people try to downplay me hitting the deer like I would lie about something like that. And downplay the speed, the rate of speed I was at when I hit this deer. I would not lie. I would put my hand up to God and all of my children. What I say, take it for face value. I don't add on. I don't lie. I tell you factual stuff. I don't have to add to make my story or whatever to be dramatic. Just hitting it enough was dramatic enough for me. But the speed, the rate of speed I was, and all of the things, when I hit that deer, that was probably one of the scariest moments of my life because I knew I was going to hit the deer. Now, out of reaction, I tried to move and swerve and do all that, but I knew I was going to hit him. Now, when I was in the first motorcycle accident, when the car ran me off I was on a 3-way highway, and I don't know if it's old or not, but they merged into my lane, and out of reflex moved over and hit a car. Now, I got it all on GoPro, and that was, I got hurt. My whole right side was messed up, bleeding. I had my friend, he was panicking. I have from beginning to end when the ambulance came, took me off the highway. I got pictures. I got all of that on video, and one day I will show it. See, I'm appreciative because when the ambulance person put me in the ambulance, I was able to get up and walk into the ambulance. And the first thing he said, man, God must be on your side. He said, because every time that I have came to one of these scenes, I'm picking up a dead body. That was what he said to me. That's the second time I was in this motorcycle accident. That's the second time I've had the responders tell me that. 2 different sets of people in 2 different places said the same exact thing. But I'm not taking chances on my motorcycle. All I'm saying is things happen for a reason. But I believe that it's not my time and that God had his hand over me and that he allowed me to come out of that with no broken bones both of the times. I just thank God for that. And I just think that it's not a coincidence. But things do happen for the reasons they happen for. With that being said, when I look at life now, I have such a deeper appreciation about life. I have a deeper appreciation about the finer things in life, the little things in life. You know, I'm learning now how to look at the small things, man. My son, he trips me out so much. My little 3-year-old, man. I just look at him and I love to see him being cultivated, man. I love to see him how he is turning into what he is going to be. Like the things he says, the most smallest thing he says has so much power because you wouldn't think a 3-year-old would say things like that, but he's so sharp with what he does and say. It's like I love it. I appreciate God allowing me the time to see the steps of my small baby. Make those steps. Now, when my other boys was coming up, maybe I haven't paid it much attention to, oh, sorry to hear that, Tom Q. You lost a brother in a motorcycle accident. I'm sorry to hear that, man. My condolences to you, sis. My condolences to you. Much respect, and I appreciate that. Thank you. I appreciate that time, Q, for the comments. I appreciate my son. My sons, they wanted to model after me when I was, you know, because I do carpentry. I do so much. I'm barbering, carpentry. So when I did things, I would see them sit right there and watch me attentively, right? And I remember the first time my children wanted to experiment on their other brothers and cut their hair and stuff. My 3-year-old now, he'll get a hammer and start doing things, and I got, no, don't do that, don't hit that, that's glass, don't do this. Like, he does things now because he's modeling after me. But I appreciate those steps. I appreciate the small things now. Before in life, I didn't care about the small things because my mind, and I was at such a fast pace of doing things, it just wasn't a concern. But now I got such a greater appreciation for things in life. You feel me? My appreciation for how I'm starting to see life now. That's why when I look at things and I see things now, some things don't even bother me. But some things I see the value in it and I invest in it. Some things you don't have to invest in, some things you can invest time in because you see the appreciation in it. You see that it holds weight or it holds value. And that's where I'm at in life now. A lot of things I'm seeing and doing, it has so much value to me. When it didn't, in the past, it didn't have value. Just didn't care about it. And I'm trying to teach my boys appreciate the small things in life. Appreciate the steps you gain. Appreciate the small ground you take. So when you get to a certain place, you don't be big-headed about it. You understand? As I started to inquire things in life, it didn't make me puffed up. It didn't make me say, hey, look what I got. I got this and I got that. It didn't make me like that. It made me appreciate the steps that it took to get me there. It made me appreciate God for how he have allowed me to be able to see and acquire these things and have a great appreciation for him. That's what it did for me. Some people might be proud that they got material things and got this and got life and marriages and all. But that I don't get proud. I get weary because any time that you acquire things, there's always going to be somebody trying to take it from you. So it made me more cautious than it made me more puffed up and proud about it. But I do respect my small, humble beginnings. You feel me? It makes me appreciate the humble and small beginnings that I've had to inquire throughout my journey and my process of life. How I've evolved into who I am. The man that I am now, Ace. The person that you see before you. It took a lot of putting myself to the back burner. It took a lot of understanding and being patient with other people, irregardless of who they were, and opposed to how they were to my point of view. All of these things played a role. But I think it made me a better person today. I'm a better person. Standing up now, knowing what I know and believe in, it made me a better person. Because when I look back at life, there's people that didn't make it, that probably did the same things I did, said the same things I said, but they're not here to testify to the goodness of life. For whatever reason, they're gone. For whatever God redeemed, it was their time. They're not here. But I am. So I can appreciate and can talk about that. These things that I'm involved in. No doubt, Sean G. Sean G says, I'm no longer me. I am my son's father now. Respect to you, bruh. I respect that a lot, my friend. I respect that a lot. Much respect. Yeah, kids will do that. Kids will put you on the right path. And, man, I tell you, man, kids, they come with an innocence of, and they love unconditionally and up until they get, until the age of where they get hurt and all of that stuff. But kids love unconditionally, man. And it's so gratifying to have your kids love you and love what you do. And you're their role model. That's the best feeling in the world, to know that you're the role model for your kids. It's nothing more gratifying than that. to know that I'm my kid's role model. They look up to me. You understand? I love it. I love it. I wouldn't trade that for the world. To have my kids to look at me and say I'm their role model. Not Future and not the Migos and not Jay-Z and all these other people. But when they look at me, I'm their role model. And I love it. I love it. That means what I'm doing in life and what I'm saying in life has a greater impact on all of the negativity and all of the influences that might be surrounding them, even in school. Now, I'm not saying I'm the only role model, but I know for a fact, because they said these things on numerous occasions. They've said it. So I know that I am a great role model for them, and I learned to appreciate that in my kids and love them unconditionally. I'm that cool dad. But I am stern, but I'm that cool dad. You know, I play ball. You know, I was all week long I've been working on my nitro cars. I got gas-powered nitro cars. The big cars like this right here. The real big ones with the remote control and gas and all that. So I got 3 big cars. I've been working on them, tuning them up, trying to get them right. My kids love to be out there, watch me race them. They go like 60, 70 miles an hour. I got one that go 45 miles an hour. And I ride motorcycles. See, I'm an active person and I do things, so my kids love that. They love the fact that I'm not no boring dad that sits around drinking beer all day, which I don't drink, but I'm just giving an analogy. Drinking beer, watching TV all day, not involved in their life or not even doing nothing exciting. I'm not that person. So I think I play a decent role model in their life, being a decent role model in their life because I am an active person and active with them. You feel me? Let me see. We got so many different things that said, my kids keep me going. This is what Black Devil says. She says, my kids keep me going every day. The best feeling ever. True. I am an extreme empath, so I have to keep my distance. Facts. And Sean G says, I can see the random looks he gives me, and I just know. I have 2 daughters, 22 and 19, both in college. Wow. I know you got to feel great and feel that gratitude to know that your children in college, man. My daughter was in college, and right now she's trying to take care of other things. So college is it's on hold, but not on hold. Just focus. Kind, classy young women. That's right. They focus and they're kind and they're classy and they're young. No doubt, no doubt. Time Q, boy, you got a decent background, man. You went from gangster to Time Q to raising children that's in college. Impressive, y'all. So I think I'm gonna cut the live stream. I didn't know it was this early in the morning, 5:20. Yeah, I appreciate y'all coming in building, man. I appreciate y'all being active in the chat. Much love to you guys, man. Much love for helping me and Logic continue to build, helping me and Logic with our channels. Thank you for supporting Ace Corner Talk. Thank you for supporting Logic and Ace versus the World. And thank you for supporting Logic, Food, Clothing, Shelter. Thank you for just being a part, man. It's nothing more gratifying than seeing that we all can come together with what we think, believe, feel, and be able to converse about it. And whatever we disagree or whatever it is, we still come to the conclusion that there's changes that need to be made abroad on all hands, on my life, your life, or whoever, to make us better. And as long as we continue to think that way, I think that we will make small steps to being great people. You feel me? So I appreciate all of you guys, man. I love you guys for being who you are. Just continue to stay real, strive to be real, and can't nobody fault you for that. See, if they're going to fault me for anything, fault me for being real and being a real person. If you want to fault me for anything, fault me for that, because I won't waver from that. I will continue to stay right in line consistently with who I am and what I believe to be the real thing. So Time Q, Sean G, Black Devil, everybody that participated in this early live stream, thank you. I know it's early, but I appreciate you being a part of this broadcast and this live stream. Like I always say when I end my live streams, you could have been doing anything else or being a part of any other live stream or doing anything else, but you chose to be a part at this particular time. And me, Ace, I greatly appreciate it. So with that being said, you guys, we're going to go in with some more content. Me and Elijah got some things coming up for the rest of this week. So y'all continue to stay tuned. Thank you for all the support, guys. Thank you for all the support. And one day I'll be able to show my appreciation. I don't know how, but there's one day that I might be able to do that. And I'll pray that, when that day comes, y'all still be a part and still be active in what we do. All right? So love you guys. Peace, much respect. Continue to stay positive. I'm Ace from Ace Corner Talk. I'm out.